Well, her body of anthropological work goes way back before the posture discovery, and that's probably what you're going to mention.
Would you like to hear that?
Yes, well, I would.
She was a linguist. She spoke and wrote 8 languages. She was working as a medical translator. And then she decided to go back to university and get her anthropological degree. And her mentor was Professor Erica Bourguignon, a well-known cultural anthropologist, who started to collect in the 1960s 488 ethnographies from these societies, old and new, to say, well, what is your sacred technique? When you say that you're hearing and seeing visions, is that pathology, or is that the sacred work that you say that it is? And they concluded in 95% of them, yes, it's sacred work, that altered states of consciousness are valid and real and healing. So that was a real turning point in the Western mind to start to look into, accept, and validate altered states of consciousness. And Felicitas was a part of that. She was there translating many of those. And she kept a short list together. What is that ritual that they all share? And so by looking at the essential steps, she said they're all putting aside a sacred space, they're all calling the spirits, they're all using some kind of sonic driving. So that became a key formula. So she was lecturing on this at Denison University by this time, and to her students, and they all said, Dr. Goodman, you're saying that we can get there without drugs? Show us. So she would do these experiments. She wasn't entirely pleased with the results. She thought that there was something missing. They could trip, but it wasn't ecstatic, meaning stepping outside one's normal stasis, normal waking state sufficiently. There was no touching the hem of something larger. So she set it aside until she found the work of V.F. Emerson with looking at yoga states, and he had put some simple measures to it. And he found that, this is the Canadian psychologist, he found that simply sitting or in a yoga posture would change some physiological parameters, motility of the intestines, how do you measure that? And breath rate, galvanic skin response, just easily measured things. And she thought, oh, really, a posture? Well, my goodness, I know that the earliest societies had postures that they memorialized in their artwork. So she pulls down a book, and she loved the hunter-gatherer society. She thought, here's the earliest clues of society. That's where you're going to find the real magic. She'd always had that. She opens a book, she starts leafing through it, and then a figurine arrested her attention. It had that look, that unmistakable look of that inward gaze. And she thought, well, now this little figure standing in such an interesting posture. You don't normally sit or stand like this, but what's he doing? And there was a huge bear in the back of the posture embracing it in this figure. And she said, okay, I won't show the artifact to my students, but this might be ritual instructions in not yoga, but something even earlier. And so she, one by one, had her students hold this. She wouldn't show the artifact. She said, stand like this, drop your mouth open. And then they started to have ecstatic experiences. Then they started to have this true shift of consciousness that she was looking for. So she was off and running.
And it's true. You see those same positions for postures. Yes, that's the word. Across cultures, and it's intriguing. So yes, there has to be more to that than just that they didn't have a creative idea about a different posture. So
well,
yes.
In the case of the bear posture, what we call the bear posture, you find it across 8,000 years of history and every culture on every continent, I think, but Antarctica. If you go back in time, you'll find examples of it. Not always with the bear behind it. No. But this is the other thing that she did. She knew her mythology. And so for her, when she saw a bear, she knew that in those cultures that know bear, he is known as a magnificent master healer. And so when her students had these experiences holding this, what we call bear posture, they would be healing, balancing, a shift, an emotional release, some kind of physiological pain, and then it subsides, and then you feel better. Some kind of, what she would say, if you look at the broadest parameter in the definition of the ancients healing, yeah, that a healing took place. So then she said, well, that's why they put the bear in this artifact. And that's why, it can manifest in many, many ways.